The meeting is called to order at 6:33 p.m. Please rise and the clerk will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members, may I please have a motion and a second that the agenda of October 7th, 2025 be approved as submitted?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Correct. May I please have, board members, may I please have a motion and a second that the consent agenda be approved as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Now we'll turn it over to Dr. Potter for special reports.
Thank you. Good evening, board, and good evening to our community. We have two special reports tonight. The first, we're going to ask Dr. Driffill to introduce for us. We have an audit presentation by our external auditor, Thomas Zubert. So at this time, we will invite Mr. Zubert up, and Dr. Driffill, you can set the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Potter. So Thomas Zuber comes to us as our longtime external auditor from Mengel, Metzger, and Barr. You can sit. There's a clicker there for you, Tom. Who's going to present the results of our annual financial audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025? Should be on.
Can you hear me? All righty. There it is. Well, good evening. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. As you know, and as Dr. Driffill just mentioned, that we did meet with the audit committee, and we did talk about the June 30th, 2025 year-end basic financial statements. And, we did meet with the audit committee back in September 25th. We spent quite a bit of time talking about the financial statements. Again, I'm pleased to report we did issue an unqualified opinion, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. So that's really what you're looking for in the audit opinion. Again, we did have a nice little discussion with the audit committee. We talked about year-over-year variances. We talked about budget variances. We talked about reserves, fund balances, internal controls, checks and balances. So again, we did have a very nice conversation. And as you know, these financial statements, they are a result of a budget process that you started over 2 years ago. So, over in those 2 years, there's certainly been a lot of change, a lot of challenges. Certainly, this district is no different than any other school district. You have to deal with state uncertainties, the property tax cap, employee benefit challenges, inflation, and even uncertainty at the federal level when it comes to some of the different federal grants that you receive. So, and a lot of different challenges that the school district faces from one year to the next. And I'm pleased to report the district continues to be in good financial condition. Again, when we look at the financial condition of the school district, some of the areas that we're looking at are really the long-term planning and how the district has utilized and developed the reserves over the years. And again, the district has really done a nice job over the development and utilization of the reserves. It's really a key aspect to the long-term financial planning and really a very nice indication of good, strong financial health. And again, some of those key long-term planning areas that the district has really relate to some of the reserve accounts that you have out there. And again, a couple of the key reserves you have, the Employee Retirement Contribution Reserve, the Teachers Retirement Contribution Reserve, and of course the capital reserves. And again, some of those reserves are very important because they really will help offset any spikes that happen in some of those rates. As you know, especially with the retirement systems, they basically dictate a rate and say, here's the rate, you need to pay that rate. So these reserves are very beneficial to help support any of those significant increases from one year to the next. So again, very nice reserves to have. Of course, you have the capital reserves. Again, very nice reserves. Those reserves are there to support the local portion of a project, right? When you can use those reserves, you can certainly reduce the local portion of a capital project. So really, you're reducing the tax impact of that capital project. So again, very nice reserves to have. Again, you've utilized those reserves. You're funding those reserves. So again, you're able to allocate about $10.3 million into the reserves this year. You used a little over $2.1 million in the reserves. So again, you're developing them, you're utilizing them as part of your long-term plan. Again, you'll be talking about, I think, in the very near future, utilizing some of those capital reserves to help support a future project. Again, very important in the support of that local portion of a project. So again, to reduce the tax impact. So again, you're doing a very nice job with that. In addition, you're appropriating about $1.5 million in fund balance to support next year's budget. So right, you're applying about $1.5 million to reduce the tax burden to next year's budget. So again, very manageable number for a district your size. So again, puts you in a very positive financial position as you're looking forward. So again, very, very strong financial position. Okay, and those were just some of the reserves. Again, the district did spend about $2.4 million in the federal stimulus funds. Again, as you know, those funds are kind of nearing the end. Okay, so again, you're doing a nice job there. Some of the other areas we talked about, the school lunch program, you're doing a nice job there. Although you did erode some fund balance in the school lunch program, as you know, some of the new procedures this year with free lunches for the students. I'm sure you're going to see an uptick in that, and that should help that program going forward. So again, very positive news there. In addition to the financial statements, we also talked about the internal controls, checks and balances relating to the school district. Again, I'm pleased to report no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. We didn't have any current year items, and the district did implement 2 items we talked about last year in terms of corrective action. So again, very positive. From the audit standpoint, it shows that the district is reacting to our recommendations, implementing corrective actions. So again, from the audit standpoint, very, very positive. Okay, so again, met with the audit committee and had a nice discussion, a much longer discussion with the audit committee on some of the information, but again, very nice discussion with them. Anybody have any questions?
Board members, do you have any questions or comments?
Just thanks, Tom. Yeah, it's really great working with you and working with us to make sure that things look as good as they do.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, Tom.
thanks. Have a good evening.
Our second special report is textbook review, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Maloney to share the details around that.
So good evening. We have a textbook up for adoption. This textbook is for the SUPA marketing course at PHS. And for those of you who are not familiar with SUPA, SUPA stands for Syracuse University Project Advance. So this is a course that students can elect to get Syracuse University credit for. This is a new course this year at PHS, and this is the text that Syracuse University recommends schools use for the course. So I'll just, as you can see on the slide, it is a supplemental resource for the new course at PHS, SUPA Marketing. It includes multiple case studies and scenarios to help students understand the marketing process. The book supports the career and financial management standards by teaching marketing strategy, consumer behavior, and entrepreneurship. Additional textbook sections include access to an online platform with study tools, discussion and critical thinking exercises. There is an extensive appendix that dives deeper into the case studies, data, and charts or graphics. So this book will be available for review at the district office as well as the library, and then it'll be up for your adoption at the next board meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Maloney. And now, excitedly, we're going to turn it over to our student representatives to share reports. They have been working hard over the past several weeks to gather information from both their previous elementary school and the high school to report out to the board and to the community tonight. And so students, as you go through and share your reports, also share your name. And why don't we start with Juliana?
Good evening. This past month has been full of exciting events across our schools, highlighting both cultural celebrations and community involvement. In honor of Hispanic American Heritage Month, our district welcomed renowned percussionist Freddie Colin, who performed at both Scribner Elementary and Penfield High School. Students were introduced to new instruments and melodies, as well as the many contributions of Hispanic culture. His performances were not only exciting and engaging, but a meaningful way to celebrate diversity across our community. At Scribner, students and families came together for the Fall Festival, enjoying music from a DJ, food trucks, and collaborative games that built community spirit. Scribner also hosted 2 open houses where families had the chance to meet staff and participate in activities like a scavenger hunt. Looking ahead, Scribner's PTA and staff are preparing for the annual pancake breakfast at Dawn's in Penfield on Sunday, October 19th, with Mr. Hirschler and Ms. Vander Swan serving up pancakes at the griddle, and they also made sure the Bills were not playing on that date. At the high school, students are preparing for a busy fall season. The Superintendent's Student Advisory Council held its first meeting last week, with Aiden and Liam representing the Student Board of Education representatives. Last Friday, the club fair showcased extracurricular activities for students. The fall play is also underway, as well as teams competing across a wide range of sports. The robotics team also participated in an event over the weekend, and students are especially excited to hear the school newspaper is being revived after many years. This month has been a wonderful example of how our Penfield schools are coming together to celebrate culture, strengthen community, and encourage student engagement. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leah Myrna. My assigned elementary school is Harris Hill, where I grew up. For those of you who don't know, at the school's annual Dance-a-thon fundraiser, the PTA raised much more than they expected. This let the school increase funds for communication, the playground, administration, and much more. They now also offer local business sponsorships following the event. To promote student responsibility, Harris Hill hosted their kickoff Walk the Talk assemblies to reward outstanding behavior. To build positive connections between students, a safety program run by 5th graders has been established where they help monitor the halls before and after school to help younger students get to and from their buses. The PTA sponsored the Back to School Bash to welcome new and returning families to the school with food trucks, activities, and every student's new teacher there to welcome them. The assistant principal, Mrs. Bajardi, read the book, The Little Book of Joy, to each class, followed by a community art project with fingerprint painting. The artwork is planned to be displayed near the main entrance of the school. To help foster a welcoming staff environment, the PTA funded a series of We Are Harris Hill shirts for every staff member. The PTA has also funded other additions to the school following the dance-a-thon, including new benches, a table, a storage shed, and even a book vending machine in the library. Last Friday at PHS, we hosted our club fair, which helps introduce students to all the exciting clubs our school offers. For example, the newspaper club, which I'm a part of, has recently restarted as a club this year, reporting on school events. The robotics team 1511 has been growing a social media presence, running events in cooperation with Best Buddies, becoming a partner with Bombas to donate socks, and running Lego robotics sessions for kids. The Spanish Honors Society recently had their first meeting of the year where they inducted new members like me, and Aiden was there too. It has now been 5 weeks since school started, meaning we are already 13% or 1/8 of the way through the school year. I might not know how every sports team is doing due to my limited involvement, but I do know that at their last meet, the high school cross-country team had the #1 female and male runners, and also was the #1 scoring female and male team overall. That's all I have to share for this meeting, and thank you for your continued efforts to stay in touch with the district and steer it in the right direction.
Hello everyone, I'm Aiden Elliott, and I have updates from multiple schools today, so hang on tight. I'll be sharing both my report and the student report from Lila Shank, our alternate student board representative. There are several exciting developments at the high school. Last week, the Superintendent Student Advisory Council held its first meeting. This council gives students a direct voice with Dr. Potter and play an important role in shaping the district's strategic plan. Liam and I are both serving on the council, so the board and community can expect valuable updates from us as these conversations progress. Another exciting addition at the high school is the Spanish Honor Society, advised by Senora Lazio and Senora Garon. This is the very first year our school has had a chapter, offering students a wonderful opportunity to deepen their commitment to learning a second language, take on leadership roles, and give back to the community. We also recognize Senora Lamonaco as this year's honorary member in appreciation of her dedication to her students and the school. Congrats to all the students that were inducted. Looking ahead, the Student Board of Education representatives hope to introduce student surveys, tentatively planned to be distributed twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring. These surveys will be designed to capture student voices, concerns, and ideas, providing a direct way to connect those perspectives to the board and improve student representation. At Bay Trail, staff celebrated students from all grade levels and houses for their brave beginnings, demonstrating kindness, bravery, and friendship during September. The school continues to offer after-school homework help for students needing extra support. Open House in September was a success, highlighted by Bay Trail's first ever parent workshop, Hidden in Plain Sight, held in partnership with the Council on Alcoholism and Addictions of the Finger Lakes. Bay Trail is also using Yonder pouches, which staff find extremely supportive of students' learning. Cobbles Elementary is still in the process of sharing their start of school updates, so I will look forward to including their highlights in next month's report. I will now also share the report on PHS and Indian Landing written by our alternate student representative, Lila Schenk. The high school has had an exciting month, especially as people have gone further into the school year. A big event at the high school was the Freddie Colon concert. It was an incredible performance that many students enjoyed and a great way to celebrate the start of Hispanic Heritage Month. Another popular event at the high school was the club fair last week. It's a great way for students to learn more about the extracurricular activities at the high school, and there was a great turnout. Clubs are an integral part of many students' high school experience, so it was exciting to see everyone finding clubs they like. In the next couple of weeks, we should be able to get more updates on clubs and what they're doing. The year at Indian Landing is off to a great start. The school held their Be a Partner assembly, where they talked to each grade level about the expectations of Indian Landing. Be responsible, be respectful, be safe, and be kind, and what it can look like in school environments. The system Indian Landing uses to recognize students doing these things is called Partners Pride Tickets, and they've received over 2,000 Partners Pride entries this month. Indian Landing also held their annual curriculum night on September 24th, and it was a great turnout, and parents and guardians were able to meet their child's teachers and learn more about what their child will do this year. Looking ahead, Indian Landing is in the process of recruiting Joy Makers. Joy Makers are volunteers that will support Indian Landing in many different ways, and it'll be fun to see the impact they have on the school. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you to our student representatives. And so now we're going to have superintendent's reports. And in the reports this evening, we have student and staff honors, as well as some celebrations. So for our student honors, we want to congratulate this select group of juniors and seniors who have been identified to participate in the New York State School Music Association Area All-State Music Festival in November. So congratulations to these students. We also have National Merit Commended Scholars. Congratulations to the following students who have been named Commended Scholars in the annual National Merit Scholarship Competition. So congratulations goes to Olivia, our Aiden Elliott, our board rep, Charles, Adam, Larkin, and Jackson. Congratulations to our students. And so now I want to highlight some celebrations, and I'll start with the School Board Recognition Week. So October 13th through the 17th is School Board Recognition. And our district is truly fortunate to be guided by our Board of Education, whose commitment and support remains steadfast. I am profoundly grateful for their leadership and their thoughtful stewardship and the ways in which they continue to show up as volunteers in our community. Additionally, I'll share that New York State School Boards Association makes sure to recognize, so each of you this evening has a certificate acknowledging your service as school board members, and that also includes our student representatives. So thank you all. I wanted to also share a few of our pictures of our students at two of the trainings that they had. One of the trainings that took place this summer, and another training most recently with our executive director, Mrs. Mustafa George, and then our very first board meeting together. So we are so proud and honored to have our students with us as board reps. Our next celebration is October Principal Appreciation Month. And I'd like to highlight the wonderful work of our district principals. October is National Principal Appreciation Month, a time for us to celebrate our building leaders who guide our schools each and every day. Our principals set the tone for learning. They nurture strong relationships and create welcoming environments where students and staff can thrive. I want to thank our principals for their dedication and their commitment to our students, families, and our district community. This observance is in collaboration with organizations such as American Federation of School Administrators, the National Association of Elementary School Principals, and the National Association of Secondary School Principals. Again, celebrating our board and our principals this month. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Driffill for a business update.
Thank you, Dr. Potter. Good evening, board. A bunch of action items on your agenda this evening. The first of which we'll review further in a second is the approval of the internal audit and associated corrective action with some recommendations in that report. Approval of the external financial audit that Mr. Zuber referenced earlier this evening. Approval of our capital project seeker, which is the State Environmental Quality Review. Approval of the capital project, so calling the project for a vote, which we'll discuss in a moment, and approval of tax cert settlement. The tax cert settlement, the town and petitioner are in agreement on it. It's for a local restaurant. There's no prior year refunds, so it's appropriate for us to take the next steps to approve the new assessment level. And then we have 3 service contract renewals for academic placements outside the district, things that we've been doing for many years. So the internal audit first, the focus this year was the retiree healthcare billing. That's what the audit committee had chose back in the spring. So there was 3 recommendations from the report. The auditor found 2 instances where retirees were undercharged by $50. On their annual premium. The issue is partially corrected. Those 2 individuals paid back the $50 they owed. And then the other portion of the corrective action is to ensure that there are no others. We did look already and there are no others. It was just those 2. Recommendations 2 and 3 were a little more complicated. There were 2 instances where retirees were billed differently than expected according to their collective bargaining agreements at times of retirement. One in which was being overcharged and one in which was being undercharged. We think we found most of the information around it. One of the scenarios, there was a settlement agreement or retirement incentive where there was no charges up until a certain date and the charges just weren't turned on. Both of these scenarios are decades old. One was from the 90s and one was from the early 2000s. So the audit committee agreed with the corrective action. The business office and the human resource office will implement the changes by December 1st, at which point we need to relay to the state the action steps that we took. But we think we have it all, we have explanations for all the different scenarios and we're comfortable moving forward on those. The external audit is our financial audit. The internal audit is more of the procedure process audit. We ended the year with a positive financial year. We generated a small operating surplus. We spent just about 96% of our operating budget. So we were able to put a couple $1 million into reserves. As Mr. Zuber alluded to, there were no current year deficiencies or material weaknesses, and and there was no current year recommendations. The 2 prior year recommendations were completed to the auditor's satisfaction. So I want to talk a little bit about our 2025 capital project, which we're starting to call Innovation and Preservation. So, as a board and administration, we've been talking a lot about this, but we're, excited to share more details with the public. So the 2025 capital project scope, we've identified all buildings in the district are going to potentially see some work. All buildings are going to receive new door hardware for access and security enhancement. Here at Penfield High School, we will be putting lights on the new turf field. We're going to be adding an addition to the building for STEM space and robotics. We're going to be redoing the team rooms and locker rooms. We're going to be making some enhancements to the tutoring center, the RISE program that we've started in the last couple of years here. We're making renovations to the fitness spaces and some roofing work. At Bay Trail, we need to do some site work, some asphalt rework, curbs and that sort. The nursing suite will be relocated from the back of the building to the front of the building. That's kind of a more typical approach in most schools. We're going to add a larger loading dock for deliveries at Bay Trail. We're going to look at enhancing areas of the kitchen and cafeteria, look at refining the auditorium, and also some roofing at Bay Trail. At Cobbles, we're going to replace the boilers. We're going to look at some cafetorium enhancements. We've made some changes to the Indian Landing and Scribner cafeteria in the last couple of years, so we're going to look to make some updates at Cobbles, a bit of a refresh there. We're going to add some storage and meeting spaces. If you talk to any of our wonderful principals, they're always saying that they're short on storage and short on meeting spaces. And one of the Cobbles playgrounds will be replaced with a new playground. At Indian Landing, while we redid the cafeteria a couple of years ago, the kitchen is in need of some work. So we're going to expand the kitchen a little bit, add a second serving line to accommodate the extra volume that we've had. We're going to be redoing the library and office HVAC systems, and again, trying to add storage and meeting room spaces. At Scribner, we're going to be adding building-wide air conditioning. We're going to be looking at some music room renovations, updating some of the toilet rooms, and again, storage and meeting rooms. Harris Hill will see an update to their cafetorium and their kitchen. We're looking to refurbish the outdoor amphitheater, adding air conditioning to the gymnasium, and also some roofing work there, and then also some roofing work at the district office. Our architects at the 2 meetings ago in August went through the site plans of all this, and these will all be online if you want to go back and see more detailed drawings. So for approval tonight from the Board of Education is that seeker approval. So the seeker is the State Environmental Quality Review. It's a necessary step that we have to take before moving forward with the capital project. Tonight's approval shows that the seeker is a negative declaration, which indicates that there was no adverse environmental impact. So obviously that's positive. The community referendum vote will be scheduled for December 16th. It's a Tuesday in the PHS main gym just down the hall here from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The final project cost is a little over $73 million, $73,151,892. It's a very similar amount to our current capital project, the 2021 capital project, which was $72.9 million. And we're really pleased to share that there's no additional tax impact required in this project. So it will be fully funded by a combination of state aid, building aid, existing capital reserve, and debt service funds. So yeah, there'll be plenty more information on the capital project vote for the board and the community in the months ahead. We'll be having a public information session on November 12th, which I believe was a Wednesday evening. That'll be here at the high school in the Commons. We'll be sending out a community newsletter. We'll be updating the website with a whole bunch of information on the capital project vote as we look forward to all the wonderful work that we plan to get into that project. And with that, I open it up to board discussion.
Board members, any questions or comments?
I just have one comment. I would just like to share with everyone that Christin and I are on the audit committee, and when we met with Tom, Mr. Zuba, who just did the external, he's the external auditor, and Jim, who is the internal auditor, and they asked us, they explained everything and answered our questions. And I asked them, I said, so what you're telling me is that we have a strong financial team and taking care of the district and our money. And they agreed 800% that we're really lucky to have the financial team that we have, and we owe that to Dr. Driffill and Bill Maloney and everybody else in that office. So know that I feel good that our money is being used very well and taken care of. So thank you, Dr. Driffill.
Anyone else? Thank you. So I'm going to move on. Excuse me. Board members, may I please have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approves the resolution as described above?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Resolved that the Board of Education of the Penfield Central School District is hereby authorized to undertake certain capital improvements consisting of additions to, construction, and reconstruction of existing school buildings and facilities, various site athletic fields, playgrounds, improvements, and acquisitions of certain original furnishings, equipment, and other incidental improvements required in connection therewith for such construction and school use, all at an estimated maximum cost of $73,151,892, and to appropriate the expand from the existing capital reserve fund of $19,495,000 for such cost, and to expand up to $4,910,000 $4,900,010, or $910,000, excuse me, in available current funds for such cost, and that the balance of the cost or so much thereof as may be necessary shall be raised by the levy of a tax to be collected in annual installments, with such tax to be offset by the state aid available therefore, and in acceptance of such tax debt obligations of the school district as may be necessary, not to exceed the $48,746,892 shall be issued. Notice is hereby given that the special meeting of the qualified voters of the Penfield Central School District shall be held at the Penfield High School Gymnasium in said district on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. to seek community approval of the project. Board members, may I please have a motion and a second to approve the above resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed.
Do we have to do a roll call?
We have to do a roll call.
get this for this one. My thing's not working. No, it says A's and I's and Nays.
No, see
What is wrong with my computer?
So, yeah. So we need to do a roll call. So, Board Member Wilson?
What's this roll call for? I apologize.
For the vote.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
just
Vote
to
proposition.
go through
Oh, just to do it again?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Gilbert Collins?
Yes.
Moriarty?
Yes.
Harley?
Yes.
Roberts?
Yes.
Khan?
Yes.
El-Amin-Turner, yes.
I don't know why my computer's. I just like floppy behind the scenes.
May I please have a motion and a second that the change order as described above be approved?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Board members, may I please have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approves the resolution for the change in the building configuration to add UPK to Penfield High School for the 2025-2026 school year.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Board members, may I please have a motion and a second that the revised reorganization appointment for the 2025-2026 school year be approved as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? May I please have a motion and a second that the revised 2025-2026 school calendar be approved as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? And may I please have a motion and a second that the Board of Education accepts the internal control audit and associated corrective action for the control cycle ending June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
May I please have a motion and, oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? I'm just like piling through, sorry. All in favor? None opposed? All right, may I please have a motion and a second that the annual external audit by Mexer, Burr and Company, LLP, Raymond F. Wagger, CPA, PC Division of the District Basic Financial Statements and the Management Letter for the year ending June 30th, 2025 be accepted?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Okay, we're on resolution, right? May I please have a motion and a second that the tax assessment resolution be approved?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? It's not clicking. Uh-oh. Okay. May I please have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approves the contract with the Norman Howard School?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? May I please have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approves the contract with Hillside?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Okay. Can I please have a motion? Can I please have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approves the contract with Mariola? Yeah, it says Norman Howard in front of me, but I'm assuming. I know.
Yeah.
It says, so what, Mary Carriola Children's Center?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Yeah. May I please have a motion and a second that the Board of Education approves the textbooks that were reviewed at the September 9th, 2025 board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Now we're going to move on to committee meetings and district community committee meetings. Any board members have anything to add?
We had district meetings. I don't know if there was Mineral County School Board meetings,
Okay.
but we had 2 district meetings that I can comment on. Anyone have Monroe County School Board? No? So we had 2 district meetings. This month we had an audit meeting and we also had health and safety meeting. The audit meeting went well. I think Dan and Tom explained everything. It would just really be repeating what was said. I think probably the most important thing to note is how thorough everything is. And even with our 2 items in our internal audit, like our staff was going back decades to find the cause. So I think that just shows the due diligence of if there's something wrong, we're making sure we're figuring out what's going on. It was even like before anyone sitting at this board was here. So I just think that's important to note that when there's something that's found, due diligence is done to rectify that. And then the health and safety meeting was I think it was last week. Yeah, the second was last week. That went well. George always does a really great job with that. They just debriefed around capital project improvements and where we were at. Our chemical hygiene report, everything was well there. We do have our lead testing piece coming up next week. And I know that the state has changed the amount of, if I get this right, it used to be between 5 and 10 last time. I really don't know exactly what that means. I just know.
The limit used to be 15 parts per million.
Thank you.
Down to 5 parts per million.
Okay, it's million, not billion, right?
I believe so.
It's billion, right?
Oh, billion.
I wrote
apologies.
billion,
My
but at
apologies.
least you knew what that meant. So and the good news is, I guess, that it can change depending on where we're getting our water from. So I learned a lot in that meeting. And then there was a really nice discussion from some of our community members about back in the day, because one of our community members has been on the committee for an extremely long time and just talked about how certain things had been brought to the committee before that the committee hadn't seen in a while. So there's discussion around how we can make sure all that information is filtering through. And I know that after the meeting was over, our athletic director and Mr. Wilson had a long conversation about just security things and making sure that everything was aligning and how we could support, because I know there's been more requests for that. So making plans to support that to the where people are feeling better about that. Do you have anything to add, Scott? I should have asked you if you wanted to go first. Sorry.
Great job.
So that's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, so we're gonna move on to unfinished business. I'm glad I have this because I cannot see that. Okay. So I want to thank just the community for being supportive and patient while the board worked on identifying like our goal. So we had our retreat and we have identified community engagement goals. So I'm just going to go through them for you all so you're aware. So the first one is to build meaningful partnerships with families and community. And so we are planning to do this by creating a community collaboration series at board meetings where we would like to invite the PTAs, PTOs, SEPTA, boosters, and other groups will be invited to share updates to their work that they're doing within our community. Increase board visibility and accessibility. So board members will attend school activities, coffee conversations, and community events that will be scheduled throughout the year. They may also participate in other organizations just as community members as well as board, but not board members. And board members will serve as liaisons to schools and share updates at board meetings. And we also will be providing updates so that the last one is sharing our work of the board with the community. So we'll be providing these updates at our meetings and also on our district website. And I believe we said maybe going out in our Good Connections newsletter. Board members, any questions? Any additional conversations?
Well, I enjoyed the meeting. I thought it was good for us to really focus on where we could be more visible and be more direct with the public. I think it was a really great step, and I felt like some of the things that we came up with are really promising, and I'm hoping that people will notice that there is a difference in visibility with board and the community.
I agree. Anyone else?
I agree that this was an exciting meeting, and I am really excited in the opportunities. I think the way that we were talking about planning together, so that we know where we're attending things and where we're involved is really exciting to me. I'm looking forward to visiting some PTAs as a community member, just to see what's going on. And by the way, a shout out to all the parent groups who are bringing book vending machines into the schools, into the elementary school. I think is so awesome. That is the best. I was glad you mentioned that tonight, Liam. So, I mean, I was also very excited by these opportunities. I think we're all very interested in being out there and connecting.
Yeah. Thank you. That's it. So with that being said, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
I do have something.
Go ahead.
I just never know when I can come in.
Oh, anytime. Go ahead.
Aiden mentioned earlier the cross-country meet that was at Shadow Pines. First of all, what a great location for us.
Liam mentioned.
Oh, Liam, I'm sorry. Get you guys confused. And what I liked about it is no matter what you were there for, no matter what school you were rooting for, everybody rooted for every runner running by. And I just think that is just such a great thing. And I just love that the Penfield hosted something that was so positive for the kids. It was also very easy to be there and cheer for the leaders. And then interest started to wane off after the leaders got through. But what I love too is the people that stayed and encouraged the kids from right to the last kid coming in. And I just loved the last kid. The courage of the last kid coming in and finishing that race and knowing that they had an accomplishment. And it was so cool too, because as they were coming in, their team was there for them, surrounding them and giving them that kind of encouragement. This is a great community, this Penfield community. You hosted a great event, and I just think that the cross-country meet was just an example of how good we are.
Can I piggyback off that, actually?
Yeah.
So I was driving up Whalen Road to take a left onto Atlantic, and I was talking on the phone with a friend of mine via
Hands-free.
Bluetooth. Huh?
I said hands-free.
Yes, hands-free. I was using my Bluetooth, and I looked, and there was a runner that instead of going left on Atlantic had gone right on Atlantic, and definitely looked confused. And I had turned, I'm nervous for this child because there's not a street. I'm going to turn around and go back. But what I saw was another student had actually went and got that child and directed the child in the right direction. I was like, because my friend's like, you got to go back or you're not going to sleep all night. I'm like, no, I'm not. But it was just so heartfelt to know that another student took time out of a race, because it's all about timing, to go make sure that a fellow person was okay. And that was just it was just really sweet to see that there was kids doing what we hope they're going to do, grow up to do. So it was really sweet. So, sorry. I wanted to piggyback off that. I thought that was great.
No,
Thank you for reminding me of it, because
wonderful.
I'd forgotten.
It's a good.
It was it was so sweet to see.
That is beautiful. It's
Really
kindness
sweet.
and
Yeah,
community.
it was kindness. Yeah, but it was just, because I got so nervous. 'Cause I'm like, he does not know where he's going. There's no sidewalk, and it's Atlantic. And somebody else went and got him. It was really sweet to see.
Anyone else? Okay. So, and it was my fault because I should ask for new business. So so thanks for the comment.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
All right. So with that being said, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting at 7:22 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor? None opposed?